I came from Newark, and you know, if you're ever in Penn Station at 8 o'clock in the morning, you think like you're in a madhouse. It's like an anthill. And I was kind of, it was a new thing for me. And I just came from San Francisco, which is kind of a little city up there in Northern California. There's 850,000 people on the peninsula, you know. So it's a little, you know, a few more people come during the day to work and visit, but it's, you know, you get your bearings. You can walk the town. So I was like, okay, how does this thing work? Like Penn Station, it's like so many layers and so many directions. And I was like, okay, where do I go? How do I do this? So I just tried to talk to a few people. And everyone was just kind of, you know, just avoiding me. Have you ever had that experience? You want to talk to somebody? And it's not like I want to sell them a book or something. It's just, I want to ask them, okay, where's this train? So we're very small, we're minute. But that should not be frightening. That should not diminish our sense of self, because when we realize our original identity, what we're made of, what our source, our origin is, what our purpose in life is, we can become very, very peaceful, very happy, and very fulfilled. But that is only possible if we see ourselves in connection with the whole. Just like this body. Just to give you a mundane example. This earlobe, how much pleasure can this earlobe give you? Not so much, right? I mean, you can put some nice earring in it, but besides that, somebody can pull it, you know, somebody can massage it. In how many ways can this earlobe give you pain? Quite in many, yeah. And we have experienced some of them, you know. So, but any part of the body, when it's connected to the body, it's quite useful. It gets a certain purpose, it has a certain usefulness. But if you separate it from the body, then it's kind of useless. It's just a separated limb. It's just discarded. So in a similar way, every living entity, we are minute parts of the whole. And when we are connected to the source, when we're connected to the source of our existence, we are very useful, we get nourished, we are beautiful, we are connected. But when you get separated, then the whole quality changes. So this bhakti yoga process is a process of reconnection, how to reconnect ourselves with our original source. And we mainly do it through this chanting, through studying of Gita, and through engaging ourselves in this process of bhakti, where we are sharing this information with others. Because while doing so, we connect ourselves with the Lord. And by sharing this information with others, we become dear to the Lord. As Atma Prabhu was pointing out initially in the introduction, that when we give this knowledge to others, we become dear to Krishna. Because Krishna says in the Bhagavad-gita that if you give this knowledge to others, you will actually be very dear to me. Just like if somebody has a child and that child ran away from home and somehow just got lost and didn't find his way home, those parents will never, ever come to peace till they find that child. So if somebody somehow sees that kid on the street and says, hey, I know you. You're the kid from that place. You're such and such parent's kid. And takes that kid by the hand and brings him back to the parents. Parents will be very happy. They'll be very delighted. They'll be very pleased. So Krishna is the Supreme Father. Aham bija pratak pita. All living entities are his parts and parcels. And he feels for each and every one. We might say, wow, there's 10 million of us here in New York. You know, how you want to tell me that yes, because he's God. And God can do that. We have a hard time, personally speaking, keeping in our head more than like 10 or 20 different names of people. And some people, if you haven't seen them in a few years, you're like, yeah, what's your name again? Or how do you spell your name? Or, has this ever happened to you? It's kind of embarrassing sometimes. But God knows each and every living entity because they're all his parts and parcels. And so he will not be content till they all reconnect with him. And whoever helps in this endeavor will be very, very dear to him. And he says so in the Bhagavad-gita. And it's a beautiful little story, just as an intersection here into the discussion. When I was in Novosibirsk, Siberia, in January of 1996, I met some friends there, and they were telling me that they were distributing this Bhagavad-gita in the cities of Siberia. Now, Siberia is pretty cold. You think it gets cold here, but there it gets like minus, I don't even know in Fahrenheit, but in Celsius, like when I went there, it was minus 35. You don't know what that cold means. It means like literally your face freezes. Like you can't be outside for long. It's really super cold. And so they were out distributing, and they met another person who was also distributing Bhagavad Gita. So they asked that person, from which temple are you? And that person said, I don't know any temple. So they said, what are you doing here? He said, I got this book 2 years ago on the same street, and I read it. It's the best book I've ever read. Amazing. And at the end of the book, God, Krishna says, if you want to become dear to me, you have to share this knowledge with others. So that fellow, what he did was, he took that book that he liked, and he took it to the copy shop, and he had Xerox copies made. Those were the days. Xerox copies made. He made 100 copies, and he went out on the street, got him somehow bound, and he just started giving this to others. I was quite impressed that, somebody never had any training, no formal education in this field. But because Krishna said you should give this to others, so he just went out and did it. And just ventured out into the unknown. Now, while practicing this process of bhakti, sometimes there might be some challenges. Have you ever encountered any obstacles, any challenges on your path? It can happen, right? Just like now, for instance, springtime is happening, and hopefully it will stay that way. So people are out and about, running around, doing whatever they do best. So it's a good opportunity, but there's also a lot of distractions because we think, oh, now it's a nice time to just go about our business of enjoying our senses, of enjoying ourselves. And it's possible to become a little bit distracted. Has it ever happened to you? Or is it just me? So, there's one verse in the Shastra which says, Mata sasaduhitrava naivivikta sanobhavet balavan indriya gramo vidvangshana pikarshati. That a person who is serious on their spiritual path, on their spiritual progress, should be careful not to mingle intimately with materialistic people, because otherwise they may become influenced by others. Because birds of the same feather flock together. Like if you hang out with certain people, you develop their habits. Have you ever noticed that when you hang out with friends, all of a sudden you start talking like them, behaving like them, and at some point you get shocked. You feel like, hey, is this me? Or no, it's because I'm associating with these people. So then when one scholar heard this verse, he thought, how is this possible? An intelligent person will not get influenced by his surrounding, by his situation. But then by practical experiment, he found out. By practical experiment, he found out. Have you ever been convinced of something, but then reality proved to you that it was different? Therefore, there is a saying that experience is the best teacher. Have you ever heard that? Do you know the second part of the saying? Experience is the best teacher. Because only a fool learns no other way. An intelligent person can pay attention, can listen, can study, can analyze and understand and hear from authority. But a person who is not that intelligent, they have to experience everything on their own skin, so to speak. So spiritual practice means we are paying attention, we're learning from scripture, we're learning from others, we're observing, but we're mainly following the descending process, that we're taking information that's being handed down by authorities. Because when we try to evolve by our own intellect and by our own sensory experience, we may make mistakes. And we have all experience of that we have imperfect senses. We think something is something, but actually it's not. It happens all the time. Therefore, knowledge that's acquired through sensory perception and the help of instruments that were created with faulty sense perception is not going to solve our predicament. So here, I didn't bring my glasses. It's really great to take notes. But if you don't have your reading glasses, I'll be okay. I just have to get the right distance so I can see it. So at the end of the purport, Srila Prabhupada says that this Vyasadeva is the author of the Vedic literatures, and he wrote down these books that formerly were transmitted by oral reception. People were so intelligent that they could hear something and they could remember it. Do you remember how I started this discourse? What was the first opening line? Very good. 2 points for Atma. Huh? After that, when I started talking, what was I speaking about? It's hard. It's hard. We have little RAM, little chip in there. And it's not so easy because there's a lot of other stuff that takes up our CPU, that takes up our, survival and how do I feel and what I have to do and so many things going on. But when we chant Hare Krishna and we study Gita, our capacity can increase. It's possible. It's possible. So this is a process of purification and of reconnection. So I'm very happy to see that you are taking part in this study group and you are continuing on a daily basis to read Gita at your own leisure. And as a small tip, as a little hint, if you can chant 1 chapter a day, it will really make impact because after a while you start remembering stuff. Have you ever noticed that if you say something a few times, that after a while it kind of sticks to you? That's how you memorize things. So try out this technique of just reading the verses of 1 chapter. Like this is a short chapter, it's got 20 verses. Some of these chapters have 20 verses. You can do them in 5 or 7 minutes. You just read the verses. And after a while you get the flow. You get the, like in this chapter, initially the beginning is the banyan tree, right? You remember, Krishna explains the banyan tree, how the banyan tree moves. And then the rest of the chapter, how to get out of this banyan tree. And then Purushottam Yoga about his own person, his own identity, and his own supremacy. He's sharing this information in just 20 short verses. Actually, it's quite amazing how in 700 verses Krishna is laying it all out. Any other questions at this point? Yes.
Thank you so much, Navina.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
How are you keeping?
I'm doing good, thank you. Okay. Enjoying the cold weather. From 100 degrees weather in India. What I was going to say is that I still have friends that are not quite Krishna conscious. I'm not gonna just say, I'm now part of the Hare Krishna's. So long, you're on your own. I'm not that type of person. I like to keep in touch with my old friends.
Sure.
And some of them, they have been influenced by me coming into Krishna consciousness or trying. I just have a meeting with two of my friends, and they have been some of them impressed with, and curious about Krishna consciousness. However, I noticed that there's a thing of envy of Krishna, and I know that if they will read this chapter, they will really be like up in arms, like, how can Krishna say this? Like, are you kidding me? Is there a way that I can approach the way? Is there a different approach that I can take in order to not make my friends feel envious of Krishna?
Yes, definitely. One good way of doing that is by giving them prasadam. Because when you give people prasad, it will really affect them. It will change their heart. Like one time I was taking a flight from London to Dublin. And next to me was a gentleman in a three-piece suit. Do they still do three-piece suits here? Not so much in style, right? Not the fashion anymore. But he looked very conservative and very busy. Because from the moment he sat down, he had his laptop out and he was hacking away. And he did not pay any attention to his environment. Now, I'm a man with a mission, as you may have noticed. I have a certain drive and I have a certain personality. So I wanted to speak to him and somehow share the message with him, but I just didn't see any opening because he was like sealed, like. So what do you do when you don't know what to do? Has it ever happened to you that you didn't know what to do? What'd you do?
Breathe.
Eating.
You just take prasadam. If you don't know how to continue the program, you just bring out the prasadam, right? So I just picked up the prasad that the devotees had given me, and I started eating. And after a short while, he looked over and he said, "What is that?" And I said, "You want to try?" And he's like three-piece suit, business guy, probably aristocratic, but it was kind of too spontaneous that he could think about it, So it was just, the senses were overriding the mind. Like if the intelligence kicks in, like, where is this from? And is it clean? And what kind of food is this? But yeah, sure, all right. And he just put it in his mouth and we started talking. And then he took the book. So when we feel dependent on the Lord, and we don't feel, I've got it figured out, I got all the answers, I know how this thing is working, I'm a big boy or a big girl, but we have a humble, a prayerful mood, there's always something that can happen. Giving them prasadam helps. Also, by your association, by your good example, they will see, this is something nice because, this is a nice person. So they get appreciation just by appreciating you. They will appreciate Krishna. And if you somehow can help them, also if they can do something, that helps also. If they can do something for you, like, you're a devotee, if they can do some favor for you, then that will also help them to overcome that envy. Because by service, envy gets eradicated, gets destroyed. And also, if they start reading things, introductory material and things that are more easy to grasp, that also helps. Because sometimes if you start at the top, it may be a little much for a person to accept the full picture. So give them as much as they can take and be patient. And at the same time, we should be mindful to see we have obligations and we have friends and family and we're moving in the world. At the same time, we should always remember and be mindful that we are not of this world. So there is no backwash, that we do not, take on the materialistic qualities, but rather that we can share the spiritual and the positive information. Otherwise, if we find ourselves, I'm starting, as I mentioned earlier, I'm starting to talk, to behave, to dress, to think like other people. And it can happen. It can happen because association is powerful and no man is an island. So we should be aware, consciously aware of our minuteness. Something that's small can be easily swayed. It can be easily influenced. So no one should think, oh no, I'm okay. One time Srila Prabhupada, our founder, he was asked, how do you keep your spiritual consciousness, and how do you keep always in this high level of spirit and thinking and acting? He says, I'm always praying to Krishna in my heart, please protect me. But that takes humility. That takes humility. And what happens as soon as we become a little loose, a little proud, a little too comfortable, a little too cocky and arrogant? Boom! Something hits you. Have you ever had that experience? Something hits you from God knows where. And you think, wow, why me? Why now? Because we attract that by this mentality. So thank you for sharing. We have time for one or two more questions, and then we do a little more chanting. We got some newcomers who are joining us here. Thank you. Now is the time. Questions? Any topic?
Questions about maybe his distributing books in Siberia or something like that. Maybe if you like to share Krishna consciousness and you want to know.
What is your mission in Africa that you were traveling from Nigeria all the way down?
My mission in Africa was mainly to visit my dear friend Srivas Prabhu from Ghana, from Accra. You know the tall, skinny fella?
Yeah, I know I am.
Yeah, because we met in South Africa on a conference, and we were very intimate, and he invited me. And you know how it is, if a friend says, why don't you come, and you say, yeah, sure, I come. That's what friends do. So I mainly went to spend time with him. And I speak French, and I was inspired to take this journey. Another friend from French-Canadian fella from Quebec who came with me. So we went on this little 5-week adventure. And it was impressive. Met some amazing people. Some very deep experiences were there. So it was beautiful. One time we were in a town in Ghana, and there when you, like today we were at Union Square and we did the Harinam, and a couple of people stopped. Boy, in Africa, if you bring out the drum, the whole village comes out. I mean, literally. The place just shuts down. People just come out and they take part. So people are not, you do your stuff, I do my stuff. It's kind of like, hey, there's a celebration, there's something going on. So we had a beautiful experience with sharing Krishna consciousness. Even though most of the centers are very, very small, some of them smaller than this room here. But people are very sincere, and it was a very enriching experience. Yes?
Hare Krishna. Just a question. How are the Krishna conscious people in San Francisco?
How?
Yeah, how do they embrace everything? I know in New York, like you said, they're more guarded. They're more you do your thing where
Well, it's the West Coast mood, you know. Everything's cool. You're cool. I'm cool. Everybody's cool. But they're so cool that that not much happens. Like New York is pretty full on. It's pretty straightforward. But if people are into it, they're into it. They're doing it. Like he was saying, like that, straightforward. This is how it is, down the line. Whereas in California, everything is kind of, it's all good, man. And not much happens. But things started there after New York. San Francisco was the second place. So now things are a little down. We're trying to revive things. So if you happen to have an uncle or an aunt or somebody who owns a city block or a little storefront, let us know. It's an interesting place. Very creative, very tech now, but there's a lot of people moving through. So we've been sent there to try to help. So we're there. It's called seva, service. Like sometimes you may wonder, why me? Why am I here? But if there's a need, then we should take this opportunity. Sometimes it's nice to be where there's festivals and a lot of devotees and a lot of things going on, but sometimes we have to go to places where not much is going on and try to help. And that struggle may be a little frightening initially, but actually it's very purifying and it's very rewarding. Like here, you're walking around on the same streets that Prabhupada walked. Same streets that he was walking by himself. And he was just practically meeting people one-on-one and talking to them and getting this movement started. So it's tough to be a pioneer, but there's also special taste in it. Yes?
When trying to be that bridge, kind of like, I'm kind of piggybacking off of Raphael said about like, you're trying to be a bridge and you're trying to incorporate those material people into the spiritual. So you're in a sense you're a bridge, you're in the middle. So what advice would you give someone that's trying to do that, like other than offer people prasad? I mean, like in terms of my own spirituality.
Thank
like,
you for
what advice?
asking.
Yeah.
Very good question. When you're a bridge, you have to be well grounded. You have to be solid, because the elements will wear and tear. There's a lot of, you're exposed to the elements. You're exposed to the people that you're trying to bridge and the gaps that you're trying to cover. So, and that means that our spiritual practice should be solid. We should daily invest into ourselves. Take the best time of your day to chant and to read. The best time of the day, early in the morning. You fortify yourself that when you go out into the world, you feel strong, you feel energized, you feel grounded, you feel connected, you feel blissful by Krishna's mercy. Not that you just go out on a limb and then you think, yeah, I'm gonna make it happen somehow. I don't know how. So, firmly rooted. And at the same time, we know we're not the doers, we're depending on Krishna's mercy. He is the one who is the supreme person. So he can inspire people in the heart. It's another point that is stressed here in this verse, is that Krishna is a super soul. He's the Lord in the heart of all living entities. And he can inspire anybody. A few days ago I was in Union Square. I met an elderly gentleman from Greece. And I just appreciated him, and we spoke a little bit about philosophy. And he said, Bhagavad-gita, very good book. I read it like decades ago when I was young. And then he walked away. And then after 10 minutes he came back with $5 and said, okay, I take it. So I wondered, like, why? Why did the guy come back? It's not anything I said. It's not anything I did. Okay, I try to appreciate him, but it was obvious he is not going to take the book. He already read it. He already made up his mind. He walked away. But after 10 minutes, he came back. Why? Because Krishna in the heart told him, hey, go back. All right? And we have felt like that sometimes, that, hey, I can do better than that. And we went back and we kind of upgraded our game. And so that is what Krishna consciousness means. We're trying to be in touch with Krishna. And then Krishna will give us that information. What is the better course of action? How do? And also, what are my limitations? When it's time to back off. Because some people, I cannot reach them. It's too much of a stretch, and I may trip. I may get wet. I may get hurt. Back off. So we have to be, and that sensitivity comes not just from practice, but from chanting Krishna's name and being open, telling Krishna, yes, please guide me, please guide my path, guide my words, and tell me how to proceed, how to progress on this path. Because we do not have an agenda on our own. We are trying to do the Lord's work because His will should be done. And when people sense that you have compassion, you have affection, you have concern, but it's not personally motivated. It's not like I want something from you, I need to get something from you, I need money from you, or attention from you, or friendship from you. I'm not clinging on this person, but it's just, I'm trying to help this person, I'm trying to offer this person something. People can sense it. They feel it. It's genuine. This person actually cares for me. And that's how Srila Prabhupada started this movement, and that's how this movement spread, and that is how this movement is still sustaining. So thank you all for taking part. Into the secrets of Bhagavad-gita. One of the best ways how to do it is to start sharing it and distributing Bhagavad-gita to others, because something very scary will happen. People will start asking you questions, and you realize, oops, maybe I should start reading this stuff and doing my homework, because they're asking me all these kind of questions. And also you realize that some things make much more sense if we apply ourselves to the practice. Because theoretically we may hear something and it kind of sounds nice, and the intellect says, yeah, okay, this could be, it's kind of interesting, but what does this actually mean? That Krishna is the Supreme Person. It means that He can make it happen. That whatever gap is there, whatever shortcoming is there, whatever is missing, He can make it up. He can do the magic. And we have seen it. And I just ended this small story. When we were driving back to Accra, our tire burst and the car flipped over, and we went straight into a marketplace and could have killed many people. I spare you the dramatic rendition that I sometimes do. But there was a pile of construction bricks, and the car went right into this. The bus, actually, was a big bus, minivan, went right into these bricks and stopped. And then we kicked out the back door and helped people out. And everybody came out, and they had glass all over them, and not one person broke a limb. Everybody just came out of that van, and the whole village came, and they all like, a miracle, what happened? Who are you people? It's pretty dramatic.
So it's a bus of devotees, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Just after this Harinam that we did. Tire
In where?
blew up.
In where?
In Ghana.
Oh, Ghana.
Yeah. So many experiences, that we had traveling when we were over the edge, but somehow we came back. And sometimes that happens when you talk, you kind of lose your chain of thought. Has it ever happened to you? You don't know where you're going, but all of a sudden, because Krishna is knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness, and He can remind you of things. Or sometimes you just forget things. That happens. So I see the clock and I remember it's time to stop now. I'll be here. If you have more questions, we can talk. I'm very happy to see this program going on year after year, people coming here, studying the Gita, and applying themselves to this practice. So, thank you for taking your time to come here, and please try to share whatever taste and whatever realization that you have with the people that are around you, because this world is suffering from ignorance, and spiritual knowledge is the cure that will solve the problems of the world. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Krishna.